Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a very happy camper. We have a new president. We have a president that's going after the dark side of this country. I'm not sure that he's aware of the extent to which darkness has taken over the government. But I'm going to explain some stuff to you now. Give me a second to activate the channels that don't get activated. This whole Facebook This whole issue of territory is kind of interesting. Um, and certainly the social media platforms can be very territorial. So now I have to activate everything that's Facebook once I start the chat, which of course interferes with my ability to have a smooth introduction. So today, Trump took over power. I don't remember the last time I have cried as much, even at a funeral. And it was a crying from relief. We did it, it's happening. And I think that you learn in metaphysics to ask when you have a problem, and we have had a very big problem in this country with darkness taking over. You have to ask, why did you need that problem? Why did the United States need for all of this to get so out of hand? How is it that darkness was able to be so bold as it has been in this country? And those questions have to be asked, because if not, it repeats. The universe is going to send you and troubles and slap you around and kick you around until you actually look at something that you need to look at. And they're going to do it the way a lot of Scorpios do it, by doing ugly stuff. Like, oh my God, look what they just did. The Scorpio did this. But Scorpios are there to tell you there's something you haven't taken care of. And darkness can only come in if there is a hole, a portal, if something's missing. And that, by the way, is in the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. It doesn't say deliver us from evil. We wouldn't need Trump to be defending us and taking care of us if there wasn't something the matter with us. It's not a good guys and bad guys. As a matter of fact, we are going to soon be on the same page, the bad guys and the good guys. Because what we've played out on planet Earth is almost like a game. It sounds awful. Because our real enemies are not from this planet, they're from off planet. And the problem is that has opened up. The galactic is now part of the scene. It's part of what we have to deal with. But the battle of light and dark on planet Earth was always to prepare us for that. So we're there at that, the mixing of planet Earth becoming galactic, and we haven't learned about the darkness. We're still pointing fingers. I will give you an example. And you've heard me complain bitterly about my handler. Oh my God, the stuff that this man has done to me, a lot of stuff is unspeakable. I can't even talk about it. But when I get together with the Mantrista movement and they kind of know the concepts of metaphysics, because I've tried to share what I know, and when things are like, and I'm asking for help and we're doing mantras and we're doing clearings or whatever, I said, I have to stop and ask myself, why do I still have a problem with this man? And I only can have a problem with him because there's still something I haven't understood. There's still something I haven't learned that has to do with me. And it wasn't until the last several days, and I'm still not sure my battle with him is over. And I think that when it's finished, and I may be right there, I need to build a monument to him. Why? I could never have this level of knowledge that I could share with you unless I had to battle with him. The 15 years in which I think I wasn't fighting back, I was just simply a robot. Once 5 years ago, and I'm going to say it here, he was threatening to sex traffic members of my family 5 years ago. And that's when I said, you know what? I really don't care if he cuts my head off, if he kills me. I don't care what happens. We can't get here. I don't know that he was serious about that, because I don't think it could have happened, but it doesn't matter. He had, in my eyes, he had all the power in the world. And by the way, he did have it because he was totally operational, having to do with Washington, D.C., and the power players there, the ones behind the scenes. So I have learned so much with him, and I'm still learning. By the way, this last piece that I'm learning, I'm not going to share it right now. Actually, I am going to share it right now. Shocking. Atlantis. Remember Atlantis? Well, we're not sure Atlantis existed. Excuse me. Plato started a book called Timaeus about Atlantis. He didn't finish it because he died. I don't think he would have written a book about something that was just I forgot the word, like a movie script. He was writing about something that is part of world history. So, what took Atlantis down? That's going to take the United States and this planet down if we don't attend to it. A lack of ethics having to do with mainly technology, of rushing through technology without looking at the consequences on human beings. And then, and actually, I don't know which is one and which is two. Atlantis, they learned, well, technology, because a lot of this is done today, and then Atlantis through technology. In Atlantis, I could have not said this until I knew that Trump was there, because I wouldn't know whether next week my head would be cut off. In Atlantis, they learned how to enslave your spirit while you are alive. Now, we know from the Bible that when you die, if you don't go to the light, you're kind of floating around, and then the devil comes and he enlists you and sends you to do wars for him that you would have never participated if you had your choice. But you're lost. The whole thing with lost. Ah, my head is leaving. Somebody doesn't want me to say this. So I'm going to show you the thumbnail for this chat. Okay? And you need to know, here it is. You need to know that when you are talking to another human being, there's your physical body and there's a physical body of the other human being. Then the next body is your etheric body, which is a webbing, and it's electrical. Not a lot of consciousness, not that interesting, but totally crucial to being alive. Behind it is your astral emotional body, which is your spirit. Now, when they say, may the force be with you in Star Wars, they're hoping that you have aligned your spirit, astral, emotional body with your physical, because then you are incredibly powerful. But you can exist and function totally fine without your spirit being aligned with your physical body. Now, people think the spirit just pops up when you die. No, you have it all the time. It's generally not so greatly enfolded with your physical, which creates a lot of issues. Now, let's go to the Lord's Prayer again. Lord's Prayer doesn't say deliver us from evil. It says help us to be in the moment, which means not disassociated. It's referring to that spirit, the gold body, not being aligned with the physical body. Okay? So when you meet somebody and the conversation is fine, and yet it feels like there's something else going on, it's possible it could be just a regular spirit that's not attached. It's not your spirit or the spirit of the person you're talking to. But it's entirely possible that the spirit of the person you're talking to, which is their astral body, is doing some shenanigans. You can feel something going on, but there's nothing going on. There's a regular conversation. There's no movement any place. The other person looks fine. They're just talking to you, but there is something else going on. There's something else huge going on. Because the part of you that's important, that continues to live, even when your physical body, which is just a bag of bones, when it dies, that's the part of you that continues. That's the part they're referring to when they say, may the force be with you. May your spirit be with you, rather than over there doing something else. Now, when it's over there doing something else, there's a hole in your system, which is the whole thing that they call in psychology disassociation. In the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, what it's saying is, you need to be together. Help us to be in the present, in the moment, here. landed, grounded, which you cannot be unless your spirit is totally unfolded. Okay, so why are we starting this conversation today, the day of Trump's wonderful inauguration as president of this country? Totally determined to take down the dark side on the physical dimension. But what you need to know is the dark side. The darkest part of the dark side is not in the physical dimension. It is an ability or the act of manipulating the spirit of the person that's standing in front of you, and they don't even know it's happening. That's what mind control is all about. But the mind control is so refined. It was in Atlantis. They enslaved people. It's one of the reasons why Atlantis needed to go under. Atlantis, they also did it electronically. Here, I'm familiar with the part that has to do with, because I was in that original program in Germany after the Second World War, having to do with torture and rape and this, all this stuff, threats and whatever. They don't do it like that anymore. That's really inefficient. Having to deal with people's physical bodies, that is really inefficient. Well, they're really efficient today, and they're doing it a lot through frequencies. The wars now are not going to be wars of one physical body hitting the other physical body or an airplane shooting down whatever. Those are not the wars. Those are for the public. The real wars is the war for the mind. And more than the war for the mind, because the mind is a system, but that spirit astral body is a separate system. It's the emotional body. Interesting. So in Atlantis, one of the reasons it needed to end was because it was not pointed in a good direction. That's where we are today. But very few people have this information. Few people understand. So now I don't even know. I don't think I have the strength to tell that story today because I don't know who's going to get back to me on this. And I am totally drained from all the crying I've done from relief that Trump is in. You just need to know that we don't know enough about ourselves. We don't, and the reason we don't know is because people behind the scenes have not wanted us to know. If you are emotionally ill, do not go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I don't care how upset that whole profession gets. That profession did not help me or my family. I remember when I would go to therapy with psychologists, very nice women, by the way. I knew more than they did about the mind. I'm sure that if I had said, do you know the definition of emotion, which is the only reason you go to a psychologist, I'm sure they wouldn't have known that the definition of the word emotion means to move out, to scream, to yell, to rant, to rave, and then to get it out of your body, which is the massage called Rolfing, and all sorts of other things that can get it out of your muscles and your tissues. They know already in science that your muscles hold memory, which means it holds emotions. So don't go to a psychiatrist and a psychologist. You can go and share your stories, and you're going to get a very sweet person, usually a woman, very sweet, very nice. Do not present them with any heavy duty emotions. They can't take it. But I remember I was like, I don't understand. How come the psychologist did not know a 50th of what it is I knew? And I was the victim of mind control. They didn't know. They were learning through me, which is not so much fun. Okay. So what we have to do now, because taking them down on the physical dimension, I'm sure that there's going to be a big dent put on their ability to continue to mind control us. We have to have been mind controlled as a country. If not, how do we let all this happen? How come we're scared until the last minute that we're not sure that we're going to be able to make this happen? Something that we wanted 2 elections before. Why are we still, what is it that they have over us? Are they blackmailing all of us? Yes, blackmailing is a big deal, but they're not blackmailing millions of people. Well, what are they doing to millions of people? What made people so weak? I have a friend of mine who's constantly complaining, well, why don't they do something? Why don't they do something about this? Because she's totally aware of the darkness. People feel impotent. Star Wars, may the force be with you. We haven't had our astral spirit. enfolded in our assemblage of bodies. This is the assemblage of bodies, and I'm only going to put it up for 2 seconds. Okay? This is the assemblage. There's your astral magnetic body, magnetic, law of attraction. Okay, so how did we get here? Are we that dumb? No, we're not that dumb. We are not strong. We are not wrapped tight. We're not aligned, and we know nothing about the mind, which is the instrument for creation that God gave us. We know nothing about it. Our mind is strings. String theory is about the conduits of our mind, the fundamental structure of the universe, which I discovered. We don't need to go into that. But those strings are electric. 110, not 220, 110. And then we have all these frequencies. We live in a sea of frequencies, all of which, not all of them, but most of them kill the 110. They win over the 110. But our mind is 110. Wait a second. Too much that we don't know, that we need to address. So let me put it up again. The dark side of black magic is that people in Atlantis, throughout history, the voodoo doctors, the really heavy duty, secretive black magicians, etc., know all about how to attack that gold body, which is your astral spirit. And then we had an entire branch of the government, the intelligence community, that connected with curanderas, santeros, voodoo, etc., and found the most fascinating tools for controlling humans without there being physical evidence. Story of my last 5 years in which people are, but nothing's happening. You look fine. And I'll never forget, I think she was the governor of Arizona when there was a lot of immigration issues there around 6 years ago, something like that. She had to give a speech and she was stammering. She couldn't put together one sentence. And I'm looking at her and everybody said, wow. And I'm looking at her and go, wow, that's a lot of black magic being directed at her. A lot of black magic. And black magic, by the way, is one of the things that can take you most quickly, not most, very quickly into mental illness. And you can do black magic now on an entire population. If I can heal several hundred people at a time on my chats, got it? Which is white magic, which is what I want to teach you. Why can't people do that with black magic? They can, and they do. Trump, your next assignment. You have to get people that know that. And you need to know that you cannot go into meetings that are physical with the bad guys. I don't care what the smile on their face is. Do not go into a physical meeting with them. Don't do it. Are they going to do something on the physical dimension? No. But it makes it easier for them. Pay attention to what you're eating. You go to McDonald's? Don't always go to the same McDonald's, because I can guarantee you that the Cuban political mafia is going to figure out what McDonald's you go to and is going to infiltrate it. And within a month, they will have your food under control. That's why I've moved so many times since I sold my house with the gorgeous oak trees. That's why I've moved so often. It takes them several months to figure out which neighbor, which restaurant, where they. Magic and food is the quickest place to get somebody under control. So I'm just putting this out today because it's real important. And from here to whatever the end is going to be, and I'm not talking about Trump, I'm talking about the planet and the ascension process, and whatever it is that everybody's saying something big is going to happen, is going to be very, 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 very quick. So even though it would be great to celebrate, I don't feel like I'm celebrating because I feel such a relief. My body is like, whoa. But we cannot we can't just not let our guard down. We have to actually widen our lens to multidimensionality and understand that the enemies know all about it and we don't. So when you ask the question, how did we get a population that is this asleep that we let this happen? How did we get that asleep? I did an experiment once because I know that these people, my enemies, know how to put me to me and other people. This is not, you go to the third eye in science, proved, found eye cells in the forehead. So you go to the third eye and you just simply lower the lid and the person gets drowsy and they go to sleep. Well, how do you do that without surgery? If you have to ask that question, you're part of the problem. It's in the other dimension, silly. And it's not silly because it almost took us down. And it took somebody as spiritually in touch as Trump to understand that this battle was not political. It was a battle between light and dark. Now, if we don't expand our lens, we're only going to be battling the physical dimension of darkness. But that's not the important part. It's the other dimensions, which is why I was willing to come into this incarnation and go through what I have been through to be able to teach this. And the place that I have learned the most was in looking at the black magic that was done to my clients. It started with my clients. I started getting heavy duty clients who really liked my work for their businesses, their companies, whatever. And I started to remote view that they had black magic. I didn't even believe in black magic, which is doesn't make a lot of sense, but I didn't in the 90s. I thought, that just, you have to believe in that for it to be. Oh, no, 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 no. Once I start diagnosing it and I know my accuracy and I know I'm not going to diagnose something I don't even believe in, but that just means that my training was very severe. I don't have to believe in something. I just have to see it and say it. And that was what I did. And then I never looked at the ceremonies that they would do. I don't like those at all. But I would look at like kind of what they would do, not the ceremonies having to do with the killing of animals, but like the different things that they would do to take down my client that they did. And I would be in awe of the creativity, their creativity. You want to make somebody dizzy? Put their name on a piece of paper and then attach it to the wheel of a car. The wheel is going and going and going and going, and your head is going and going and going and going. Well, how did that get there? You put their name, and there's a transference of energy, which is why a lot of people don't like their photograph taken, because some of you is captured on that photograph. Your name, somebody has your name, and they're capturing it, so you can't control it. But and that's why every time I teach these things that I learned and I observed, and I'm like, should I be saying this? I think that if everybody knows everything, it's an even playing field, and then your free will, you can exercise it properly because you have all the information, and then your intention will determine how you're going to use that information. Are you going to hurt other people, which time you go against free will, or are you going to do it to help yourself, whatever intention? And then light and dark. The people that are playing out the darkness are trying to help to wake up people. It's like a slap in the face. And as I've told my followers, every time somebody does a black magic ritual, a curse, and sends it to you, it doesn't always land. So what makes a difference? Luck? No. For it to land, it has to, let's say this is the curse, and this is you. Let's say that you were born into an affluent family and you've been affluent your whole life. You don't have as much money as you want, but you've been affluent. They do a curse to take down your prosperity. It's not going to land because you were okay. You're okay now. You're going to be okay in the future. So there's no hole in your system, in your mind. It doesn't land. Okay? So, another example. You're married to a really good looking guy, and there's all these women after him, whatever. And somebody does black magic to separate you and your guy that they want. If the marriage is good, it's not going to come in. Now, if your father cheated on your mother and you are married, but you don't really trust your guy that you love and loves you and everything is great, but you don't really trust because inside of you, you still remember how everybody suffered because your father cheated. There's a hole in you. You needed to have done some mantras for that, by the way. So they do black magic to take down the relationship so that they can get the guy. And it lands. But that's because you had a hole. So at the causal level, you needed that. You needed that for you to say, I got hit with black magic. I'm losing my marriage. I'm losing my bank account, whatever. And you're supposed to say then, why did I need this? What's my part in this? And once you start doing that, you become a master. And then you look at this that was done to you as an opportunity to look at something that you haven't looked at, that you didn't know was broken. So this country needs to look at why this level of darkness was able to take over this government. And you can't say he was a bad guy. He was a bad guy. He made a lot of money. It's bigger than that. If you say that, you get trapped in the physical dimension, and that's not causal. That's not where you can fix it. It's much deeper. So how did this country reach this point? If you're outside of this country and you look at this country and the people, you go, what's the matter with those people? How did we think we were such nice people here? And all of our agencies, let me not say all of them, but too many of our agencies that give money to other countries and go in to help them out are fronts for the intelligence community to get into that country to do not nice things. How did we? And then the other countries know that. The people outside of this country, how did this country get so asleep? We need Kennedy because a lot of it, a portion of it, I don't know what percentage, has to do with what we're eating. Remember, I learned that from a Mexican shaman who refused to eat anything I gave him for like 4 days on a 5-day visit to me. And when I finally said to him, I don't get it. Why are you eating? Something's going on here. And he went, yeah, well, in Mexico, we know that the easiest way to kill our enemy or for our enemy to kill us is to put magic in food. Well, I did not know that. At that point, I didn't know it. And so I said to him, so you think I'm your enemy? I may put something in your food? And then he looked at me and he went, you're right. I'll take that plate of food. So we have to look at our food. And I don't think it's red dye number 5. That's the issue. Okay, so we're going to end this here. I actually feel more energized now than I did before I started this chat. I am very pleased that Trump is in. I am very pleased that Trump is in. I mean, like, really. And I do think that this country has started to wake up, but then we are in Revelations. So we were going to wake up, and thank God we woke up before we got totally taken down. So let's go ahead and do a mantra. And let's do the mantra about being afraid to be a master. I have a hard time accepting that we're afraid to be a master, but the dolphins insist that that is the case. And being that they've been right on everything, then why on earth would I not pay attention to that? So let's go ahead and do the mantra, even though I'm afraid to be a master, okay? This is a purification mantra. So this is the mantra. You repeat it I only look so relaxed because I have cried for hours of relief. I haven't felt the happiness yet. I need to be able to go out to a store and go out to a restaurant and feel like it's okay. Anyway, even though I'm afraid to be a master, I love and accept myself. I'm going to go ahead and put the music that's for the subconscious, because that's got to be in our subconscious. That cannot be in our third eye. Maybe it is in the third eye. Let's do the third eye. Okay? And we're going to do 5 or 6 minutes of this. You repeat the mantra in your mind and you expel the breath through your mouth. By the way, and this I to all of my followers, when you expel the breath through your mouth throughout your mantra session, all these muscles relax. Makes a huge difference. I love that video. This is the map I drew of the United States today during the inauguration. Look how great that looks. That's 2 layers of protection. And it also indicates the spaceship of the Galactic Federation on top of the United States, protecting the United States. The United States is very important, having to do with galactic wars. That's why you have to be spiritually sophisticated. We can't do like the movies. Oh, look, there's an alien. And the only thing is that the information that I got was a lot of danger. And why would that be? Not from within. If this planet is as important as it has been said that it is, having to do with galactic wars, I'm not the first person to say that, nor does that coming from me. I'm repeating, but it's said by people I respect. So you got planet Earth is important, having to do with some important stuff in the galaxy. And then you have the United States being kind of the leader. Venezuela was a spiritual leader, and that's going well. The guy's there, but he doesn't want to stay there. The dictator, he's going to be leaving. But we got the United States. It's going to be like front. And we're not sure we believe in aliens. And we're supposed to save the galaxy. And I know it sounds stupid. I know that. But that's because we have been trained to think that that's stupid and unsophisticated. Guys, you got to get over it real quick. But anyway, today, full of joy and relief. Double protection. Everybody should every day remember the people, which is not just Trump, it's also his wife and his kids, Elon Musk and all the rest of them that are putting themselves out there. And remember and have the intention that they be full of light, that they have energy. And if you notice that things get really complicated, which I'm sure they will be every minute of every day, then, and they're not throwing rocks at people or shooting them, then you need to know that they're being very elegant and swallowing their frustration, emotions, which are supposed to move out, which means they're loading up on the fire element, which means they're going to get real frustrated and actually get sick quicker. So just visualize them underneath a cascade of cold water, cooling them off. And you know who needs a lot of cooling, except he looked a lot better now, is the guy that's going to be in charge of the deportations. When he was first given that position, I said, this man's going to have a stroke. We haven't even started deporting. He's going to have a stroke. His face was so red. That's excess fire. That's stroke. The last couple of days I've seen him and his face looks better. I'm hoping he didn't take, here. I'm hoping that he did not, this is him, that he didn't take his spirit body and push it away so that he could not feel this level of frustration. We need for people to feel things, which is why you have to have techniques to deal with the emotions. That's not throwing a rock or killing somebody. And it's also not pushing it away, which is when in the Lord's Prayer it says, deliver us from evil. It doesn't say that. It says, help us to be here. The Star Wars, may the force be with you. So his face is better. I hope his face is better because he's learned to take care of his frustrations because he's got a job. Millions of people are going to hate him for it. Everybody who loves somebody who's an illegal alien. I think it's really interesting. Illegal aliens, and then we have to deal with the aliens from off planet. We don't know how to deal with the illegal aliens on this planet. And then we have these others, and we're not sure we even believe in them. Oh boy. We need to put our roller skates on, having to do with knowledge. Okay, and expanded awareness. So that's it. We will see you again. And I am very happy with what happened today. And I'm very happy that everybody's predictions, including astrologers, that he wasn't going to reach the inauguration and all these things were going to happen. I believe that they were going to happen. But reality is created every minute of every day. The future's elastic and plastic. And there were many people working on changing the reality of the fact that he couldn't make it to the presidency. I mean, really good people looked in the future and said, he's not going to make it. He did. Because his intention and also the intention of a lot of other people. The future is elastic and plastic. You can get anything you want. Your mind creates it. Okay, so that's why you can't be fortune tellers. You can go to them. And I am listening to too many tarot card readers because have been stuck in my house. But you cannot. If you don't like what you're hearing, you don't have to accept it. He just told you where you're going to be if you don't do something about it. All those astrologers and all those people that are very good said something and they believe that's it. That's the way it's going to be. And by the way, the election that Trump lost, maybe he won it really, but shenanigans. I had a couple of astrologers call me after that and say, you need to tell me, how could I have been so wrong? Because all the astrologers said he was going to win that election. I mean, it was like, I mean, I can't tell you that every single astrologer, but it was like consensus when they looked at he's going to win it. And he didn't, which pulled the rug out from under the astrologers. Well, there was black magic done on that election, okay? You need to know. You need to know. Thank you for joining me. I love that I'm doing what I decided to do before I incarnated. It has not been easy. But here, we got here. We're here. We're here. And I think people are listening. By the way, we turned this into a podcast. It's on Spotify.